Hello and thanks for joining us again. Abortions are now banned in at least 12 states, up from 5 last month. We know that more states are going to continue to push for similar restrictions, harming women's health care options for tens of millions of Americans. In Montgomery County, we realize that more of the burden will undoubtedly fall on healthcare professionals in areas like ours. It's why we finalized the application process for $1 million in assistance meant to help abortion providers and organizations that support them and the women who need them. All funding requests will go through Health and Human Services Department's new Office of Grants Management. We appreciate the support our office has gotten from state and federal delegations and the County Council for these efforts. Additionally, we'll continue our efforts to reach out to businesses in states that restrict the rights of women who may look to relocate. We are in the process of researching specific corporations and companies and organizations that are likely considering moves out of these states that are threatening the health and safety of their workforce. We are also currently reviewing marketing strategies proposed on how to best target and find business owners, boards of directors, and other leaders who will be receptive to Montgomery County's booming economic opportunities, as well as our welcoming and inclusive communities. On Monday, I was glad to join Dr. McKnight, our Board of Education, several of our county council members in welcoming students back to school. At the opening of our new Harriet Tubman Elementary School in Gaithersburg, Dr. McKnight announced that our schools are now 99% staffed, including fulfilling MCPS's needs for bus drivers and substitute teachers. Having a new school like Tubman will serve a critical issue in the Gaithersburg area, overcrowding. Now that everyone is back in class again full-time, I'm glad that we've planned ahead so that learning is not impacted by jamming too many kids in a classroom. I'm very optimistic about the school year, but we have a lot of work to do still with our students to help them get caught up due to the learning loss that they suffered during the COVID pandemic. I'm proud of the success we had over the summer through programs like our new Ignite Hub or with our community partners such as the newly opened Kid Museum in Bethesda. This summer, Montgomery County Public Library's Summer Reading Challenge served 13,000 kids, more than any other year since they started this program in 2015. I believe kids were inspired to complete reading challenges to help save the Chesapeake Bay, as well as earn a free book or Nationals tickets. Thanks to our library leaders, supporters, and parents for such a successful and innovative program. Reading is essential to the development of our students, especially our youngest children. I look forward to more collaboration and partnerships between our government and MCPS throughout the upcoming school year. The success of our students doesn't just begin and end with our classrooms. We must ensure that their education, safety, and health is supported in their homes and communities throughout the county. Case rates for COVID-19 and hospitalization numbers continue to trend downward, keeping Montgomery County's current community level at low. It's encouraging news until you look at the number of deaths attributed to COVID in August. We've seen 9 deaths in just the last week, bringing our deaths for this month to 29, in line with what we've seen throughout the summer. Since the start of June, we've averaged nearly 1 death per day, with 88 people in Montgomery County dead because of COVID. Many of those patients that lose their lives to COVID are unvaccinated. That's one reason I still think it's important to talk about why vaccines and boosters are so important in the fight against COVID. We're still seeing more people who are unvaccinated and not boosted hospitalized or die from COVID at higher rates than those who've kept up with their shots. This is literally a life or death choice to make. There is no reason for us to be seeing the number of people die that we are witnessing, other than the refusal of people to get vaccinated. As we've said over and over again, the vaccines may not prevent you from getting a case of COVID, but you're less likely to get seriously ill, less likely to end up in a hospital, and less likely to die if you get vaccinated. In fact, you're 4 times more likely to end up in a hospital and 4 times more likely to die if you aren't vaccinated. This week, the FDA announced on Wednesday that it has authorized the use of a new booster shot, for the first time retooled to tackle the Omicron variant, and our HHS department is preparing for its arrival. I hope this will help us increase our booster rates. The federal government announced this week that they are discontinuing free at-home test kits through the mail. I encourage all residents to visit covid.gov/tests before the program ends Friday, September 2nd, so they can receive their third round of free tests. The good news is that Montgomery County is going to continue providing free take-home rapid tests at our libraries. More than 30,000 COVID tests were taken home last week. With school back in session, identifying COVID early is important to stop the spread of the virus. Earlier this week, the federal government announced it will spend $11 million to develop a smallpox vaccine to combat monkeypox, also referred to as MPX. This is welcome news, as demand for this vaccine has been far greater than the supply. Montgomery County will also be getting another shipment of the monkeypox vaccine. That, along with the change in the way we administer the vaccine, means that there are many more doses available now for the more than 3,400 people currently on our pre-registration list. Additionally, this week, the Maryland Department of Health shared for the first time the breakdown of information on nearly 500 MPX cases across the state. Montgomery County has been identified with more than 50 cases, or a little more than 10% of the total cases in Maryland. Another virtual town hall on MPX is planned for Monday, September 12th from 6 to 7:30 p.m., this time with a focus on the Latino community. For the latest updated information on monkeypox, please visit montgomerycounty.gov/MPX. We are marking another International Overdose Awareness Day this week by mourning the sons, daughters, fathers, and mothers who make up the list of victims. Sadly, we've added 8 names to that list so far this year, and our sympathies and condolences are with their family and friends. Fortunately, we're seeing progress though. Overdoses overall are down from their 2021 pace, 248 this year compared to 351 at this point last year. But we must continue our efforts to reduce the harm overdoses and substance misuse can cause to our residents and their families. As advocates point out, the stigma of drug or alcohol addiction often prevents people from seeking help. We have to work hard as a community to remove barriers that would prevent someone from asking for help. As we've seen, the risks of ignoring issues can be deadly. If you or anyone you know needs immediate help with substance misuse, please call our 24-hour crisis center at 240-777-4000. Information about all the county's resources available to combat addiction can be found at montgomerycountymd.gov/opioids. There are few Marylanders as important to American history as Harriet Tubman. This year marks the 200th anniversary of her birth. As we recognize September as International Underground Railroad Month, I encourage all families to please take the time to understand the impacts that slavery had on the formation of American society. The damage done by literally centuries of racist practices has had deep impacts on the lives of Black Americans, as well as on our society in general. There are still people out there who think that the defeat of the Confederacy and the freeing of slaves was a bad thing. It's hard to imagine that people in the 21st century can still embrace racism and denigrate the value of their fellow human beings, but sadly, it's still with us. We need to teach the honest history of our country and learn about the struggle for freedom, the events that shaped it, and the people like Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and so many others who have fought for freedom and justice. This Saturday, September 3rd, please visit Montgomery at Woodlawn Manor Cultural Park for a day of education, children's activities, and guided hikes along the Underground Rail Trail. Advanced registration are recommended at activemontgomery.org. There will only be a limited number of day tickets available at the Visitor Center. Finally, I want to wish everyone a happy Labor Day. I'm proud to support our unions and the importance of workers having a seat at the table. It's important that people understand the role of unions and created a more just society. 8-hour days, 40-hour work weeks, sick leave, pensions, healthcare, and outlawing child labor all came about because of the efforts of working people and their organizations. It's not like corporate interests suddenly gained enlightenment and decided they suddenly ought to treat people better and pay them fairly. These are the result of hard-fought, sometimes decades-long battles. And this is not unlike the battles for equal rights, civil rights, and women's rights. all things that for much of our history were opposed by the corporate interests. And while it's good that much of that has become accepted in our society, it didn't happen absent the struggle of people to build better lives for themselves, and all of us are better off today because of what they did. One of the things I'm proudest of was leading the effort to increase the county's minimum wage, which was passed in 2017, to raise the minimum wage incrementally each July 1st. This July, the minimum wage increased to $15.65 for companies employing more than 50 people. There's still work to be done to get many people above the minimum wage and into a livable wage. And beyond that, we've seen several labor victories recently. Just last week, I stood with SEIU Local 500 members as they fought for pay increases at American University. After 5 days on strike and 468 days at a bargaining table, the AU staff union celebrated its first contract. I'm pleased that AU conceded to these demands and proud that the workers earned more benefits. Unions are gaining strength nationwide, with young workers driving a boom not seen in nearly 20 years. Amazon, Apple, and Starbucks are just a few employers seeing just how motivated workers can be. Here locally, I supported the efforts in Albany by Starbucks employees who recently shut the store down for a weekend to drive a clear message to their corporate owners that concerns need to be addressed. This Labor Day will also mark the return of two community celebrations. The 55th annual Town of Kensington Labor Day Parade starts at 9, and the Gaithersburg Labor Day Parade, after a 2-year hiatus, begins at 1 o'clock and ends at 3 on Monday in Old Town Gaithersburg. I look forward to seeing everyone on Labor Day and showing their appreciation for the working men and women of Montgomery County. Have a great week and see you soon.